Technology.ie. We're at the Startup Galway event in McSwiggan's here in Wood Quay in Galway, and I'm with tonight's guest speaker. It's Declan Ganley, entrepreneur, one-time politician. You're not involved in politics at the moment, Declan?
That's right, Con.
No, but you have one campaign that you wanted to mention, and there's one political point you did want to mention this evening. What is that?
Well, it's a business point, it's an enterprise point, and it's a competition point for Ireland. I had an op-ed in the Sunday Business Post yesterday on the issue of capital gains tax and the fact that capital gains tax in Ireland at 33% is a tax on risk, it's a tax on success, it is a huge disincentive to Irish entrepreneurs, and it is frankly economic illiteracy. Having a capital gains tax that is one of the highest in Europe on our own domestic growth enterprise, exactly the types of businesses and risk that we need to encourage and that we need to have take place in Ireland to create the long-term jobs, the long-term economic activity, and the constant reinvestment cycle and seeding cycle that you need to create a vibrant startup, mid-size and exit type opportunity economy for enterprise. You need to have low capital gains tax rates to do that. The same governments that will tell you that they'll raise taxes on cigarettes or on booze to disincentivize the use of those products, surely they should realize that if you're raising the tax on success, that you're disincentivizing success and lowering the amount of it that you're going to witness in an economy.
If I understand you correctly, Declan, you argue that a rising tide would lift all boats. Is that correct? And if so, isn't there the case that there are countries which have a smaller government model such as the one you propose? Aren't there huge income inequalities in some of those countries?
Well, if you look at Hong Kong, for example, or Singapore, that have zero capital gains tax, they are, okay, they're not exactly analogous to Ireland, but they are very vibrant, very successful economies that have, really respectable rates of average rates of income and very good infrastructure. If you look at other markets that have lower capital gains tax rates, you are seeing the result. We saw it ourselves in Ireland. So when we had lower capital gains tax rates, the tax take was higher. So if you want to deal with the genuinely needy in society with things like income distribution, making sure that everybody has a crack at being able to put food on the table and being able to have a decent standard of living, then you need to open up opportunity for them. And opportunity means that they have a chance to build business, that they have a chance to go out and get a decent job, and a job that will be there and something that they can rely upon in the future. And the way that you do that is you encourage risk-taking, you encourage investment, you encourage enterprise, and the way that you encourage that type of risk-taking is by not punishing success and by having low capital gains tax rates. And when you do that, the actual take, the amount of money you collect if you have a lower capital gains tax ends up being more. And we don't have to speculate about that. We just have to look at exactly what happened in Ireland, where the capital gains tax rate more than a decade ago was much lower, and the take more than a decade ago, even before the boom times in Ireland, was higher than it is today because we had lower capital gains tax rates.
You mentioned that you live in County Galway, but you spend more time in New York than in Dublin. Is the United States a society that has got that right, do you think?
They're still trying to get it right. I mean, there's no perfect answer, okay? But when something is really obviously not working, then you probably shouldn't do that anymore. And a 33% capital gains tax in Ireland clearly isn't working, so we shouldn't do that anymore.
Let's talk about entrepreneurship. Let's talk about risk-taking. Fantastic turnout here this evening in McSwiggan's. Startup Galway is a relatively new initiative, and one of the things that it's based upon is the idea that Galway City and its environment has got an awful lot going for it in terms of the things that foster entrepreneurship. There's the college, there is the integration of the college with the city, and then there is the creativity and innovation and entrepreneurship, both in the technology and the biotech sectors. Would you agree with that assessment of Galway?
Look, I live here. You can build and run a global tech business from Galway, and there are plenty of us doing it. It's a great place to live. It's a fantastic place to bring up kids. I can't think of anywhere better, because if I could, I wouldn't be here. And the quality of life is excellent. The weather, you know, it's challenging sometimes. The scenery is fantastic. The schools are great. We have a school in Galway. Well, all the schools in Galway are good. We have Yates College in Galway, which is a private enterprise, which has had the best results in Ireland last year. We have a fantastic university. We have a great college with GMIT. We have a lot of talent here. It's a great place to set up a business. It's a great place to bring investment. And, you know, I mean, Dublin's nice and everything, but I mean, if you can come to Galway, why not pick the best?
Now, I know John Breslin has said that Galway could be Ireland's Silicon Valley. Do you think that's an exaggeration? Is it a possibility?
I think it's an underestimation. I think it could be Europe's Silicon Valley, and you know, I don't think that is in any way unrealistic. I think that we talked about it here tonight. You reach a point of criticality. You create an environment of like-minded people who can exchange ideas and support each other's businesses, and you create a vibrant economic environment, because if you don't have 33% capital gains tax rates and you let people keep some of their money when they're exiting, they'll then have money to be able to invest in startups and be angel investors and everything else. An interesting thing, I said it tonight, something I heard in Silicon Valley from a big investor in Silicon Valley a few years ago was, he said, you know, a lot of guys here, he said, don't like to have to drive more than 2 hours to visit their investments. So, you know, we need to create that same kind of critical mass here, but Galway is an environment where that could happen, and where there is a will, in this particular case, I think there's a way.
A lot of people wanted to talk to you here this evening, asking you questions from the floor, Declan, and also lining up to speak to you afterwards as well. What's your advice? What's your first piece of advice to these enthusiastic young entrepreneurs?
You have to embrace the freedom to fail, and the biggest, you know, it's the old saying about the only thing to fear is fear itself. You know, I mean, sometimes there are good reasons. You know, you can't do stupid things, but embracing risk, understanding, you know, that on all of the information available to you and doing your research and everything else, but that you believe that business, that enterprise that you want to go out there and try and set up, that you really think that it's worth a shot, that you've done your research, you've done your homework, you've put this thing together, you know, you've kicked the tires hard enough for yourself. Ultimately, you've got to believe in yourself, because otherwise no one else is going to believe in you. And be prepared and accept the fact that it may not work out. And you know what? You'll probably be right. It probably won't work out, but it might. And if it doesn't work out the first time, it's like I said in there earlier on, then sort of cartoon-like, like those cartoon characters when they get squished on the road and they're flat as a pancake, they pop up and they reinflate themselves and they get back into the fight. You have to take that spirit out there into the world if you want to be an entrepreneur. Being a successful entrepreneur, you know, part of the process of getting there is embracing the freedom to fail and not being afraid of failure, because then you're capable of real success.